My name is Sandra Zomers. I'm one of the presenters for today. We are planning a workshop about quality label for badge recognition. I'm one of the persons who is representing the Cities of Learning network. I'm mainly working in the Netherlands, but also abroad, and working since I think 2013. I also have delivered on Wednesday a presentation on quality label. So in that presentation, we were more explaining what a quality label project is. Here we will more dive into how we are working with it, how we are measuring this and evaluating quality for badge issuing organizations. Were there people in the presentation on Wednesday who were there? I think Noah was. Yeah, Jeff was. Good. Good. So my name is Sandra Zomers, and here my colleague Nerijus is.
Hi, everyone. Oh, okay, it works. Being the first in the day, it's always a challenge because you don't know how many people will come and what their shape will be. Really big thanks for showing up. And quite a few faces we know from years of badging. Myself, I'm coming from Lithuania, based in Vilnius, but also partially in Tenerife. I'm representing Awero organization, which now merged from two, Badgecraft and now not-for-profit Nectarus. And we have now a portfolio of badging platforms, but also training and consultancy offers. So this year was for us transition, and we work across Europe, but also beyond with partners from Cities of Learning Network. Myself, I joined the idea of badges since very beginning when Mozilla worked on the code. We met first time with Duke in one of the Mozilla festivals in London back then, when Mozilla was still behind the open badges. So since then we are working with badges, with platforms, create our solutions, but also work a lot with partners. I think what our take on digital credentials and open badges, we look through educational side, through how badges can empower learners. Of course, what badges can offer them in terms of access to further education, maybe training activities, maybe employment. But we already see evidence of benefits from the moment when people start getting first badges and they start thinking about what do they learn, what do they experience, and how can this be translated into something to share. I will start from introducing quality label for badge recognition a bit to give a context and initial information, and then we will invite you for interaction. Since we signed up for workshop, and in our work we do a lot of interactions with audiences and between people in the room. So to explain a bit the quality label, that's what you can expect from today. So who, why, what, how, use cases. Then we'll dive into quality criteria and indicators a bit. And our day is to really ask your feedback because you are part of badging digital credentials ecosystem. So we'd like to get feedback from you and suggestions. And then we'll see how we move on forward. So in essence, how we see quality label, we see it as a certification issued by Cities of Learning Network, and it is for learning providers who are using badges or on the way starting to use badges, and we demonstrate certain level of quality. When we designed the quality label, we were taking into account that we work with very diverse badge issuers, so not everyone has a massive portfolio and experience of issuing badges. They might be a starting badge issuer, and the quality label would be their guide to see what is required to have a good quality badge system and practice. The way we structure quality label, we basically describe, and we started sharing the document, the summary document, which describes and explains what is quality label for badge recognition. So then it includes description who is involved in this process, so badge issuers. Then we have the network of Cities of Learning, which is offering quality label and evaluates the badge issuers practices. And then we look for having a broad spectrum of endorsers who would say, yes, we need quality label, we need organizations working with badges in a quality label. Reasons for working on this, ourselves coming from non-formal education sector, we often needed to prove ourselves that we do great work. I'm in non-formal education since 2003, and every time I'm standing in front of audiences, I need to be some sort of verified, because people come from all walks of education with all kind of degrees. I have my formal education in Masters in Education, but nevertheless, each time being not a university, not an industry representative, I would need always to explain myself and that we are doing great work. And it's proven by numbers of learners we reach and how they give feedback. So for us, it's important to achieve trust, credibility, and recognition, as well as visibility. And what we see now with quality label, we extend beyond only non-formal education. We'll show some cases of that. So inside the quality label, we look at formal criteria and quality criteria, and I will go through them a bit later in slides one by one. The process, it is registration part, training part, applying, and evaluation. And we have some documentation available already. We have a platform for that, so people can go on and they will find learning playlist with summary document and application form. So we have one platform which holds everything needed for people who want to apply for quality label or want to follow it. Now going at criteria level, we have few criteria kind of chapters. One is about demonstrating that you know what open badges are in technical terms, but also in educational terms, and how they work, and then what are the quality aspects of using badges. So organizations which apply for quality label, they will need to give some evidence of having badge competency in creating, in using them. Badge implementation, we will be asking in quality label 2-3 examples to describe, explain, and provide evidence in order for the team of evaluators to make sense how much organization is actually using badges at a minimum level of quality. And then what we realize that this is a long-term process. So when organizations obtain quality label, we expect for a while to be committed to quality. So in the application, we already ask to explain what is your plan or kind of quality assurance plan and measures, so that we could with certain confidence say if quality label is awarded, it will last for at least a couple of years. And in our estimate, we say that from the moment when an organization is earning quality label, at least 3 years, it should be valid, and then they should reapply again with a more simplified process. So already in the initial application, they should demonstrate that we have a plan to ensure quality for a couple of years ahead. Yeah, so that's what I showed. And some cases, Sandra will say a few and I will say a few. When we were designing quality label, we interact and engage with a variety of badge issuers. This example from Vilnius Tech University, which is issuing badges for extracurricular activities of students. And then we link to competency framework, which they establish themselves through the better links with employment. So they asked employer, social partners, we looked at research, what is needed in employment, and we realized that as diplomas are valuable for certain check, but many employers are looking for more skills-based hiring. So we established several competencies, and we looked at their programs, especially extracurricular programs, where such skills can be developed by students. And then we have a badge system which allows students to navigate through badges activities, and at the end of the diploma earning, they would get a complementary document based on badge data. So basically from competences they develop in different programs at university, extracurricular programs, they would get that one other document to share with potential employer. So Vilnius Tech applied for the quality label. They have reasons. They want to make sure that they stand out from other universities, but also show to other universities we deliver quality opportunities in learning, but also recognition. They want to have this connection with employers. They want to be trusted. When we use badges as new technology, employers are not aware of that. So then we would play and use quality label as international award recognition of their good work. Another example, we have in Vilnius city, where I'm based, we have a municipality established center to promote volunteering in a city. And this organization has one of the platforms to promote volunteering and badging. So we collaborate with a number of volunteering organizations in the city, encouraging them to offer volunteering opportunities, facilitate and support young people in obtaining practical skills and experiences, and they follow with badge issuing. So they also are on the process of getting quality label, but their approach is very informal, very based on experiences, volunteering experiences. And again, we are looking into how to use some competence frameworks, which allows to link volunteering experiences to some skills, and then wider skill frameworks to show that volunteering is not only a benefit to community and the one who is volunteering, but it also creates possibilities to develop necessary skills. So we have another case which now is in progress of obtaining quality label. Sandra?
Yeah, so here you have Expeditie Red. Expeditie Red is a Dutch sports organization who is also inviting young people to do voluntary process in the Netherlands, 80 hours of volunteering, doing something good for society. The main aim that they have is saving lives in and around water. So the drowning is one of the top in the top 3 of causes of dying. So that's their aim. What they see is, for example, also because they're working as formal education, so they are allowed to give official certificates for trainers being around the swimming pool or working for the safety guards. But what they see is that not all skills that are learned in their projects are awarded by formal education. So they add on top of that badges to recognize learning happening in different ways. So for example, cooperation or taking care about somebody else. One of the other things is that they are doing is they educate migrants, refugees, to be more aware about the risk of water. And that's also one of the reasons why they are issuing badges here. And so the reason for issuing badges for them is to build on top of formal education, mainly. One other organization that is working with badges is the Digital Inclusion Network in Rotterdam, which you are seeing here. And they have their own platform, like the previous one also, the life-saving also have their own platform issuing badges. Here, they work a lot with Rotterdammers, so people living in Rotterdam who are not yet digital skilled. So, and quite often also don't have certificates. So they want to issue in, for example, the library, but also different organizations working with digital skills in Rotterdam, issuing badges for Rotterdammers.
So these are examples of different areas where we have engagement, and it's only few we collected. We are working now with 7 cities, partners, and countries. So we want to have by the end of this year at least how many? 20 organizations which go through the full process of obtaining quality label, and then we will continue next year with opening up for more organizations. Now I would like to transition to interact with you a bit more, and I see that you have devices with you. So I will open up Mentimeter. Yes. Oh, yes. We can go a bit for the questions and answers while I'm changing the...
Yeah.
Yes.
So my understanding is that this is for your network working off that platform. For other people working on other platforms, what's the policy on stealing with pride, borrowing with humility?
At the moment, we are trying out for the Cities of Learning network because we need to start somewhere. We are interested in what is the need from other organizations, and based on that, we will start developing ideas how to solve that. So we are not there yet, but if there is interested, we are happy to see how that cooperates.
Is it actually Creative Commons now or not?
The whole content you will find available, and because we work with public funding, it's really Creative Commons. If people will say, wow, that's great, we want to use it, or adapt, remix, and so on, it's already online available, and please use it. In our case, we started from our network because often people and organizations from our network, we need to self-proof somehow, or proof against some other bigger institutions and sectors. So we started from ourselves, but we realized that quality and trust is an ongoing debate and discussions across other ecosystems. But again, with technical solutions, because some organizations are tied to some platform, in our case, with digital visualization of quality label will be accessible and available on our platform, while maybe your platform could look into the whole content and say, wow, that's relevant. Maybe we need to adapt to maybe Canadian context, and so on and so on. But all the documentation is available and accessible, so you can put it your labels, or yeah, and then you start. And I think if we in future want to have more of the quality, I think almost any network or ecosystem or platform can think of and work on their own. Yeah. Any other questions maybe before we? Yes.
Thanks. 2 points. First point, is there any link with the European quality assurance regimes for higher education, like HAVEAT or for BET, for vocational educational training, like EQA-BET? Is there any? Because I can see some similarities. They also go deeper into the design, not just the delivery, but also the assessment and all this stuff. So is there any ongoing conversation on that? Yes, not? And the other point is regarding to the Vilnius University and so on. Because this is also some point that I don't have a clear answer here. But now that, so I fully agree, we need to break down the concept of the degree into skills, all this stuff, and we should be able to, in the accreditation, to include everything that has already been achieved by the learner. But now the concept of micro-credentials is rising in Europe, around Europe. And of course, things can be done using quality assurance regime, because that's what they have also introduced in the council, in the recommendation of the council about micro-credentials, or not. But if with open badges you are also able to include some quality assurance, then maybe things become closer, right?
Okay, I will try to respond if I will remember 3 questions now. Oh, 2, yeah. So one, if we have looked into other quality assurance systems, especially from higher education, before we started working on and designing this, each partner selected some examples of quality assurance systems, which would be to some extent relevant and close to where we are. And one thing we realized, we are not big institution like formal education institutions. So we looked for quality assurance systems which would tap into community-based recognition and quality assurance, maybe self-defined competence systems, and then quality assurance of training and education. Because when we read documents produced by higher education, I hardly find lifelong learning embedded in them. Or, for example, how much is important to recognize non-formal education in that. So to give an example, we followed closely European approach to micro-credentials, and our network issued a 10 points recommendations how to improve it, because we couldn't recognize ourselves in European micro-credentials approach, and we are part of education. So that's a signal we send and send and send. Don't forget that lifelong learning and wide learning exists. So at some point, we didn't tap into the ones which are maybe from higher education, except, for example, when we start working on micro-credentials, when we look at recommended standards of quality to describe micro-credentials, and even when we follow these standards, we often get into trouble because we are not accredited, we are not a formal institution, but we follow everything. We align to competence frameworks, we have assessment in place and so on. So that's where the tricky part is, yeah? And now I need you to say again the second and third question. Maybe Sandra, yeah.
I think you have already provided some sort of answer to that. But it's also some personal doubt because I come from a public university, yeah? And we started to think on open badges more for gamification, let's say, than for formal accreditation, right? But now that things come closer, right? I think even both things should be combined. But it's just, it's not to provide an answer, it's just a comment to share.
Good, good. But I think another aspect of that, what we realize with having quality label, which is designed by rather smaller organizations compared to universities or industry organizations, it is, for me, a flip in the, I would say, even power relations, because universities apply to our network to be evaluated against the quality criteria established and designed in collaboration with different stakeholders. And then we would say final word on, yes, you qualify. So that's something interesting going on. And this quality label becomes our instrument to say, look, we know and understand learning, education, assessment, skills development. And if you trust, in a way, our way, but our way means we included also universities and these representatives we mentioned, they were in our activities together to design and collect feedback, yeah? So we hope that this multi-stakeholder approach would allow and ensure the connections, yeah? Okay, going to the Menti, I hope you already scanned it, or if you use computer, you can type in menti.com and the number, and you should open up the Menti. And we will go through several questions, but not too many, to have a bit of interactions with you, all right? So first one, what is your role in badging and digital credentials? And we have identified a couple of them.
Yeah, so we asked for issuer. So are you issuing open badges or micro-credentials? Are you earner? So are you only earner in this, in earning badges, micro-credentials? Are you an endorser? So somebody else who is saying this is a good work, good job, we're working with open badges, I trust this badge or micro-credential. Or are you a consumer, a user of badges that are earned? So are you looking at badges that are issued to earners, earned by earners? Or do you fit in another group? I'm very curious about, so we have, I see already 7 endorsers, but I'm very also curious about other. So is there somebody who we forgot in those who doesn't fit in issuer, earner, endorser, consumer, but adding other?
So I picked other because we're running a national project that is supporting institutions, excuse me, and doing research on the outcomes of the engagement. So I was kind of thinking of it more in terms of like doing research in the area.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, very good.
Yep, great example. I think when identifying in the original open badges ecosystem, I think it was very simplified, 3 elements, issuer, earner, and consumer. But I think the ecosystem is growing and we start identifying new roles and new kind of inputs like researchers. Yeah, they start researching more and more. Yeah. Any other examples of other, just for us to hear and pick up in the future conversations?
I'm more curious about hearing from the endorsers. How do they endorse? Why did they see themselves in that category?
Yeah, if anyone tapped into I'm endorser, could you just say, yeah, we are endorsing and that's how we do it? Okay, it must be someone from online.
I hope I hope we are all endorsers of badges, but in this specific case, I thought this was more practically engaging with endorsing badges, not endorsing the concept of open badges.
Thank you.
So good morning, Stefano from Italy. I'm one of those who clicked the endorser. And we established this year the World Alliance for Microcredentials. So we are trying to define quality principles, standards, procedures to be adopted by mainly vet practitioners, but also other industries and other stakeholders. So yes, I ticked the endorser because in this perspective, we would like to be able to integrate a solid quality framework into the process and the workflow. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. For example, in what I see in the Netherlands also as endorser, the municipality is an endorser. That's what we see for the quality label. So they are now involved in the designing the quality label, don't want to earn it themselves, but want to endorse the quality label. So that's one of the endorsers that we also see.
And then I think what we are experiencing ourselves, being a network distributed across countries and being global network, we endorse our members. So I see this kind of transition from institutional endorsement, but it's peer endorsement. And I keep emphasizing to our colleagues, we know our work, we trust each other. Why don't we just frame it into the transparent way? How can we check against quality standards, very transparent way, and say, yes, you are doing good work.
So next question. What does quality in badging and digital credentials mean to you? What does quality in badging and digital credentials mean to you?
While you are typing this, we have University of Vilnius Tech who now launched a research reaching out to badge earners, asking them to define how do they see quality of badging. So we have experience, we have few badges, and we can look into them and see what we can do. So the partner, Vilnius Tech, they are running this survey with badge earners. So we're looking for some outcomes, what earners think about quality.
So 7 people responded. So some responses. So quality means reliability, credibility, verifiable, validity of the program, usability for all stakeholders. I see a framework and set of principles, rules to be adopted by all different stakeholders involved. That's interesting because I think we can also add here from the Cities of Learning Network that we have values of using badges and how to use them. And that's the funding of our work, but also in this, the funding of this quality label.
Yeah, and I think one of the most debated and discussed aspect of when creating the quality label was, are we looking into quality of learning or quality of recognition of learning? Yeah, and it was really not easy because some would expect that this quality label should also look how learning is organized, delivered, or facilitated, and so on. But we as creators of the quality label said we cannot tap into learning because here we lack expertise in specific fields of education. So we cannot judge about quality of higher education because we have no experience with higher education from the perspective of organizer or institution which can evaluate quality. Yeah? So we try to restrain from having assessment of the quality of learning. We focus on the layer of recognition. Yeah? All right, for the next one, and we'll have a bit of exercise to do. We have another QR code, which if you scan, should lead to an application for quality label. Yeah? It is a PDF, and here it's a summary. But inside that application on pages 8 to 12, you can find the criteria and specific indicators which we use and ask organizations, badge issuers to provide some evidence. And on phones might be not easy because the screen is little and criteria are several. But if you can look from the page 8, yeah? And questions we would like to ask you when you look into this, how relevant are they from your perspective? Yeah? So let's say you identify you are an endorser, or you identify you are earner. And if some organization needs to provide evidence on these indicators, would you say, yes, that's what I expect from quality badge issuing? I want organizations to give proof that they are compliant with this. If you, for example, a researcher and looking into quality of recognition as a research subject, would that answer some of your research questions, yeah? So that's one. And another one, how much do you think they really contribute to ensuring trust in badge quality, yeah? And of course, if you have immediate questions, we can get them from you and answer.
This is great. So, but sorry about my voice. I was out late. Often you'd have some kind of rubric around this. So, for example, if someone was unsure as to what you meant by assessment procedures, you'd say, here's an example of it or whatever. And presumably there's some kind of things down here which you wouldn't accept. Okay. So one of the things I like about this is that when we talk about quality and rigor in an academic sense, it's a black box. So there's some people who decide at the university what counts as quality and rigor. What I love about this is it's much more open and transparent and community-based. And I just want to make sure that for this, you're being extremely transparent about what counts as valid assessment, that kind of thing, having some examples. And to have good examples, you also need to have an example of something that you wouldn't accept. Like, we wouldn't accept this because it doesn't fit in with this, the way that the community defines learning.
Thank you. Very good point. I think we really, initial level of indicators we had very rigorous ones, where we looked at, like, do you have not only assessment process, but what kind of assessment processes? And then we realized that if we put that level of rigidness, some organizations will immediately fall out because in their practice, they don't need that kind of assessment, which is needed in other settings. So we step back, saying what we want to make sure that you think of assessment and have assessment and can explain what kind of assessment you are using. So for example, for community-based projects, assessment will be a bit different from a school-based badge program because we have different needs in badging, and then assessment would be different. But we want to make sure organizations apply assessment through badge issuing, yeah? But if someone cannot give an evidence that we do that, that would be not acceptable. But even then, in this overall assessment process, we agreed that we will say compliance is enough with certain percentage of satisfaction, because we see, and organizations tell us, that quality label becomes their learning process. Yeah, so we will say you don't need to comply 100% as long as you commit to improve on. So if someone will be not able to answer assessment question at the application, but the rest will be intact, they would need to put in their plan. For next 3 years, we put more efforts in ensuring that we start implementing assessment. So that was also our approach to manage this, being enough open, but at the same time, very clearly stating what we expect in terms of quality.
We also wanted to be a role model for how you cope with the issuing badges to young people, for example. Yeah, we want to, for example, if young people are issuing, sending evidence, then we don't say it's bad, we reject the badge. But we want to make them, we want to empower, we want to share with them, this is how you can improve. We want to give them some recommendations for a book to read or somebody to follow or to meet somebody. So that's what we are doing in badges. And this is what we also want to do in the quality label. So showing how you can look at evidence, being a role model.
Speaking of evidence, do you picture, and to Doug's point about the transparency, or as Simone might say, radical transparency, do you envision that when someone or an organization earns the quality recognition badge, that you'll actually be attaching evidence from the application to the badge?
We have a two-level process. So people involved in organization, one of the requirements is to complete the learning playlist, which is mirroring the steps of quality label. And in this process, the representative organization or team, which says we have competence in badging, we have understanding of badging practices and so on. They receive badges from us, and inside badges, they need to submit evidence, including the application, because one of the badges is application badge. So, and then in this way, they get a badge packaged with evidence, which they can decide to show off or not, because they control the evidence view. So for example, if in their institution, we have a page saying, we received this and that quality label, we can prove it by institutional kind of label and certificate, but also team badges. And they decide whether they want to show off or not, because our approach is that we will not force radical transparency most probably, but we enable it if organizations want to go that route. Okay, and for the remaining couple of minutes, since we are still looking for input to what we are creating, I would kindly ask you, you heard from us some information, you had a quick look into criteria and indicators. Please come up with some suggestion, advice, recommendation, which would make quality label for badge recognition even a stronger proposal. Because in our process right now, we are accepting already applications. And in January, we'll hold an expert meeting from different countries coming together to look at the whole process of designing, developing this quality label, but also how to ensure its sustainability. So having input from diversity of group and profiles as you are would be very valuable to us. And questions, of course.
So the question I have is, to what extent have you been testing out these quality criteria, the indicators, and really what are your plans in terms of being able to keep revising it and updating it based on the reality of working with institutions? So how are you testing that it really is measuring quality?
Okay. So when we were designing and we had the first iteration of the quality label, we then reached out to stakeholders we work with different ways. So one way was holding focus groups, where Sandra, especially you, pulled together different stakeholders and we had monthly meetings to look at the whole process of designing. Other partners also did similar exercises.
Not only the designing, but also checking the needs. For why do you need the quality label?
Yeah. And one of the outcomes of such consultations, because we were carried out in different countries, we realized that there are certain cultures underneath everything. So what would be much expected from Netherlands would be not so much expected from Lithuania, because we have totally different culture in a sense what we accept as recognition, yeah, what we need for that. Yeah?
And also quality is different in the different countries.
So we need to find certain middle ground, sometimes making compromises, yeah, not satisfying one only sector or one country. So that's something maybe also I was in Batch Summit and it was a lot of discussions how different US states should align their standards. I think that's invitation have these kind of events. So one was this piloting first iteration. We had a training course involving different stakeholders on the ground and then looking deeply into the content. And right now what we do, we run also local workshops, presenting and also engaging with stakeholders who want to earn a quality label, who might want to endorse. And we keep collecting feedback from these activities to bring them back to January event. And that will be kind of our final event to say we launch it fully. And then it will be taken over by Cities of Learning Network to ensure that it's not forgotten, but really used across our partners. And we talk about more than 50 places we are in operation. So that would be a much big step to take. Yeah. And what do we have here? Some examples, good, bad practices. That's very important. We're kind of collecting them as we go, and we'll make them available on the same platform we are using. Is quality the right word? That's interesting. If a person who put it and would like to follow up in coffee break, I would be really happy to understand why it's not maybe a right word, why it's right word. Publish, make policies available. Yes, that's what we do. If it refers to badging policies, that would be interesting to look at websites of badge issuers if they have clearly and accessibly provided information, how do they ensure quality? I think that could be one of the suggestions for badge issuers. Maybe do a score rather than one-size-fits-all quality label. Okay. Would like also to have conversation. Require a content endorser for assurance on the content as part of the application. All right, that's something interesting, I think. What we still not figure out, wherever and how we could achieve endorsement from organizations, people, and institutions which are well knowledgeable about badges. For example, there is Open Recognition Network Movement Alliance. How can we engage and interact with this stakeholder so that they could give their input and say, yes, if that's following open recognition, then we are endorsing it, yeah? Or this International Credentials Council, that could be another big institution looking through. And when I reach to them, they say, wow, we keep getting these inquiries from other networks and institutions. We need to set up internal team looking how can we issue endorsements. Yeah. So that's it from us. And the last, if you still want some QR codes, and I leave them, how you can connect. Like I said, many things are online. We have a platform which will populate with more examples. We have also the playlist where you can actually earn badges even today. The first activities, benefits and reasons for your institution, looking into quality label and maybe what questions you have, and then application is available. Okay, thank you very much for attending and being with us and giving your input.
Thank you.